In a landmark decision that marks a significant shift in global governance, the United Nations is establishing 3 major agency headquarters in Nairobi, Kenya, by the end of 2026. This historic move represents the largest relocation of UN operations to Africa in the organization's 80-year history, positioning the continent at the center of international development efforts. UN Secretary-General António Guterres announced that the global offices of UNICEF, UNFPA, and UN Women will be relocated, either in part or in full, to Nairobi by 2026. This decision transforms Kenya's capital into one of only 4 cities worldwide to host multiple UN headquarters, joining New York, Geneva, and Vienna in this exclusive group. The move will bring at least 800 new staff to Nairobi and create thousands of job opportunities, while 2,000 employees are scheduled to relocate by July 2025. The scale of this relocation cannot be overstated. It represents a fundamental reimagining of how international organizations operate in the 21st century. This relocation is far more than an administrative restructuring. It represents a paradigm shift in how the international community engages with Africa. Guterres emphasized that Africa is a priority and that investing in the continent is a duty for the UN, signaling a move away from the traditional Western-centric approach to global governance. The decision comes at a crucial time when Africa faces numerous challenges requiring sustained international attention. The partnership between the United Nations and African Union has never been more critical, as they address myriad challenges facing the continent, from the world's largest forced displacement crisis and numerous instances of political instability to territorial disputes and climate change-driven insecurity. By positioning these critical agencies closer to the populations they serve, the UN is acknowledging that effective development work requires proximity to communities and deep understanding of local contexts. This represents a departure from the traditional model of managing African programs from New York or European headquarters. The economic implications of this relocation extend far beyond the immediate job creation. With a $340 million investment, the expansion includes a state-of-the-art 9,000-seat assembly hall and 30 advanced conference rooms, transforming Nairobi's infrastructure capacity to host major international conferences and summits. The Kenyan government has committed to supporting the relocation by improving physical and digital infrastructure around Gigiri and Runda. Roadworks, improved security patrols, and upgraded water and sanitation facilities are already underway, with most expected to be completed by early 2026. This infrastructure development creates a multiplier effect throughout Kenya's economy. The real estate sector is experiencing unprecedented demand, while service industries, from hospitality to professional services, are expanding to meet the needs of the international community. Local universities and training institutions are also benefiting from increased demand for skilled professionals who can work with international organizations. The United Nations Population Fund's relocation has been the most extensively planned and discussed. The percentage of posts moving to Nairobi represents approximately 25% of the current New York-based posts, focusing primarily on operational functions that directly serve African populations. Management's rationale behind the relocation is for UNFPA to be closer to the people it helps, particularly in areas of sexual and reproductive health rights, maternal mortality reduction, and youth empowerment, all critical issues across the African continent. UNICEF's relocation to Nairobi positions the organization at the heart of a continent where children represent over 40% of the population. With Africa facing significant challenges in education, health, and child protection, having UNICEF's global operations based on the continent enables more responsive and culturally appropriate programming. UN Women's establishment in Nairobi places gender equality advocacy and programming in a region where women's empowerment is both urgently needed and actively pursued by governments and civil society organizations. This proximity allows for more nuanced understanding of cultural contexts while advancing women's rights across diverse African societies. The relocation has not been without its challenges. Staff members fear the move could compromise their work, with roughly 25% of UNFPA's New York staff being relocated. primarily focusing on operational functions, which critics argue could compromise crucial policy development efforts and vital relationships with key stakeholders currently managed from New York. However, these challenges are being addressed through comprehensive transition planning and substantial investment in communication technologies that maintain connections with global partners while strengthening African networks. This relocation occurs within the context of Africa's growing economic and political significance on the global stage. Economic growth in Africa is expected to increase from 3.4% in 2024 to 3.7% in 2025 and 4% in 2026, driven by the recovery in Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa. The UN's decision recognizes Africa not as a recipient of aid, but as a partner in global governance and development. This shift aligns with the African Union's Agenda 2063 vision of the Africa we want, a prosperous, integrated, and peaceful continent. Nairobi's selection as the hub reflects Kenya's strategic advantages: political stability, excellent aviation connections, established diplomatic infrastructure, and a growing technology sector. The city already hosts the UN Environment Programme, UNEP, and UN Habitat, providing a foundation for this expansion. Nairobi is one of the 4 main headquarters of the UN, including Vienna, Geneva, and New York, but it now stands to become the primary hub for Africa-focused programming across multiple agencies. As we approach the 2026 completion deadline, the transformation is already visible. The Jigiri complex is expanding, international schools are increasing capacity, and the diplomatic community is growing. More importantly, African voices are becoming more central to global policy discussions. This relocation represents more than organizational restructuring. It embodies a new approach to international cooperation that recognizes Africa's agency and expertise in addressing its own challenges while contributing to global solutions. The success of this initiative will be measured not just in operational efficiency or cost savings, but in whether it leads to more effective, culturally appropriate, and sustainable development outcomes across the African continent. Early indicators suggest that proximity to communities, deeper cultural understanding, and enhanced South-South cooperation are already yielding positive results. The UN's relocation to Nairobi represents a historic moment in the evolution of global governance. It signals recognition that the solutions to Africa's challenges, and indeed global challenges, increasingly require African leadership, expertise, and perspective. As these agencies establish their new headquarters over the coming year, they carry with them the hopes of a continent ready to take its rightful place at the center of global decision-making. For Africa, this is not just about hosting UN offices, it's about reshaping the future of international cooperation itself. This has been your One Africa News Report. We'll continue following this historic transition as it unfolds. Stay connected for more updates on African affairs and global developments affecting the continent.